everyone, this video is to show you the steps to find an empirical journal article using the databases that we have accessible at Worcester State University's library system. This is just the homepage that I usually start on, www.worcester.edu, and at the very top you'll see an icon for library. I'll select that library icon, and this will take me to the homepage for our library system. And there's tons of resources that you can use throughout this page. You can contact the library, you can find a specific journal, look at different catalogs, you can find books and media, again, journals, look at the reserves that we have, and use Google Scholar. Today, what I'm going to use is this link right here called Find Databases by Title. Once I click on this, this will take me to another page that includes all 236 databases that we have access to at Worcester State University. Now, as a college student, you're not going to come anywhere close to using all of these databases. The databases that you often use are going to be based on your academic major. So, for example, I'm a psychology professor, and I usually only use one database, maybe two databases whenever I do my research. So what I'll be using today is called PsycInfo, and I could scroll down through all 236 databases until I find it, or I'll just select the letter P to go to PsycInfo, and I'll scroll down until I find it. There it is. So I'm going to click on this, and this will take us to another page. And this is a search engine that we use oftentimes for library purposes called EBSCOhost. And what EBSCOhost does is it houses information on books, journals, resources, and organized within the databases. So I can also add another database here to search from. I'll just use an example here. You can use other options. ERIC is a very common one for education majors, just as an example. And I could use two databases at one time with my searches. I'm not going to use that today, but that is just an option. So I have my PsycInfo database that I'm going to use, and oftentimes just so I can use as much information as I want, I will click Advanced Search. That will allow me to narrow down my search a little bit from my options. And I will start with the publication year. I tend to only look at articles that are within the last 10 years. If they're getting older than 10 years, then they're not going to be as new. The information might be a little bit dated. Our environment and our community might just be different by this time. So you want the most current and related topics to the population. So I'm going to go 2010 to 2020 to today. I also am going to look only for this search, peer-reviewed article journals. And what this means is that when anybody is submitting a manuscript or a paper for publication, people in the field, experts in the field, will also review this article to see if it's acceptable for publication. So that's where it comes into. Peers, experts in the field are reviewing the information in the journal or in the article to see if it's okay for publication. And once it becomes approved, then it will be published and read within the research community. I also like to select English, so I narrow it down to the English language. And lastly, I will exclude dissertations. Dissertations are very large manuscripts that are written by PhD candidates, so those who don't have their PhD yet but are moving towards that. And the final step of receiving your PhD is to finish their dissertation. So I'm going to remove those because those are very large documents. You don't want to be reading 300 pages worth of material. And also, it's sometimes hard to get access to those dissertations, so you can remove those. You don't need to include that. For this search example today, I am going to select only full text. I would not usually do this in my regular classes because we would be doing research articles starting at the very beginning of the semester, and we would have time to access all the articles. Since we're doing this assignment to find an empirical article within a 1-week time frame, I kind of need the article right away. So I'm going to look for only articles that are full text. All right, I'm going to move back up to the center, and now I'm ready to put in my keywords. Keywords are topics or main points that you're looking for in the article that you're trying to find. You don't want to write a whole sentence in this area. You don't want to write a question. You kind of want to focus on nouns or topics that are essential to the search that you're trying to do. So I'm going to use an example from our week 3 discussion, because we are using topics within our week 3 discussion for our writing assignment. So there's a little bit of a parallel connection between the two. And I'm going to explore the topic of parenting during a stressful period of time. So I'll put in parenting. Notice that it comes up with a lot of other possible keywords. So you could expand this a little bit. And I even see here parenting stress. That could be something that would be useful to me at one time. I'm just going to keep parenting right now. Then over in the field area, I can select all text, or I could also select keyword. I'm going to stick with keyword for right now. And for parenting, I'm going to use the example of just stress. There is not going to be a lot of data and manuscripts published on COVID-19 yet, but this will give us a little bit of an example of what topics are out there, and we can go from there. So that would be an example as well. So I'm going to move down to have my keyword. Just as reference, you can notice that you could actually search by an author if you have a really, if you're looking for a particular person who published information, and lots of different things that you can narrow your search down by. Just an example. You could also put in other keywords here. You can add more keywords if you wanted to. Keep in mind, the more keywords that you add, the more narrow your search is going to be. So now I'm ready to search. Let's see what we have. And wow, I have 431 hits for the keywords and with all the things that I narrowed down my topic. From that, you can explore. I always read the title first. If the title is interesting, then I explore more into the article by reading what's called the abstract, and we'll try one of those out in a minute. Just to give an example, let's pick this one here, impact of a community-delivered parenting curriculum. So a curriculum is thinking about information that is being taught to somebody else. So if I click on here, this is going to give us our title again, the authors. This is going to give the source, what journal it's coming from, the volume number, the year it was published. This is all information that is necessary for citing your sources. And here it's going to give you the abstract. What an abstract is a short description of what is inside the journal. And I often recommend reading the abstract first. And if the abstract is information that is interesting to you and makes sense to you, then keep going and read the whole entire article. If this isn't what you're looking for, you're not interested in this topic, lots of people can define parenting stress in many different ways, then look for something else. Don't stick with the first article that you find. Oftentimes that can be problematic because you might not be really interested in the topic. So if this is the abstract, I would read this and see if I was comfortable with it and know information about it, and then I could find the full source. Just a couple quick things really to give you a little bit more tips about finding a journal article. This is called subjects. These are the key words that this journal these authors identified as going into this article. So this could be really helpful if you want to find other articles on this topic. You could use some of these key words to continue finding articles within those areas. Okay. To access the full text, and remember, I only selected full text, which I typically won't do, but for this purpose, for our assignment, only this 1 week, I used only full text. So what I can do is I prefer PDF full text. I just find it easier to read. So I'll click on full text, and voila, we have our whole article right here. You can save this to your computer or your whatever device you're using, so you can read at will whenever you need to and use it as a reference. And this provides the whole article. So this article is kind of long. It's 17 pages. Some articles are shorter, some articles are longer, but this is going to give you a full background of what that article is and the research around it. It's going to describe the methods, the method, which includes the participants that were a part of the study, how they collected their data, here their measures that they used, and also the results that they found from the measurements that they used. They will conclude their information with a discussion section, which is right around here. And then you can integrate it into a research paper or integrate it into what your own ideas are around the topic and go on from there. If I just click back, I can go back to results list. This will take me back to the large list, those 431 articles that I could choose from. And I could keep going to see if I find an article that I'm more interested in or wanting to explore. Keep in mind that that one topic that we were looking at was only thinking about parenting during stressful times such as COVID. You could use other keywords like trauma. You could talk about other times of economic stress is a good one, financial stress, job stress. Those are different keywords that you could use depending on what you're most interested in learning about the topic. All right, so I'm going to stop here. Send email questions if you have any. Happy exploring. This is somewhat fun to read the titles and read the abstracts to see what you're most interested in. Remember, only pick an article that you are most interested in reading about. So that will make everything much easier when you're doing the assignment. See you later.